price for these pelts have gone up.
Also going up, pressure from the entertainment industry to protect animals. You may recall talk show host Jimmy Kimmel recently got serious to protest the killing of a lion for sport. And of course, there's this ad, which is hard to miss if you're driving along this busy stretch of Santa Monica Boulevard. In West LA, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Fish and Game officials approved the ban on a vote of 3-2. Well, LA's Boyle Heights is the latest to throw its hat in the ring when it comes to providing clean, renewable energy for the City of Angels. It's all part of the LADWP's FIT program. Anna Marcos joins us from Boyle Heights rooftop with more. Anna.
Yana, all these solar panels mean 300 kilowatts of energy now going into the LA grid, enough to power another 100 LA homes.
3, 2, 1.
City leaders have just flipped the switch, sending a new source of clean energy into the LA grid. This commercial building becomes the first in Boyle Heights to install solar panels and join the LADWP's FIT, or Feed-In Tariff program.
Feed-In Tariff is a program that allows larger rooftops to participate by putting solar on their roofs and selling that energy to DWP, and we redistribute it throughout the city.
The program is part of LA's ongoing effort to find new and renewable sources of energy and to grow less reliant on fossil fuels.
Everyone benefits. The environment benefits, which means we all benefit, create local jobs, and also help local businesses.
Even better, the building is in one of LA's so-called solar equity hotspots.
A hotspot is a community that is disadvantaged, has a high unemployment rate, and has very little renewable energy. And 40% of all the FIT projects are in solar hotspots.
The city of LA has set a goal to be completely off coal energy by the year 2025, and this roof is already getting it closer to that goal. Yana?
Thanks, Anna. Well, many smaller apartment buildings may have enough area on their rooftops to join the FIT program. The LADWP is also working on a program for homeowners who want to produce solar energy for the city and may not have the correct roofs. That program could roll out next year. Well, a scathing report by the nonprofit group TRIP ranks Southern California roads as among the worst in the nation, second only to the San Francisco Bay Area. But just within LA city limits, crews have worked hard to change that over the past year. Gil Reyes explains.
Imagine a narrow street riddled with bumps and potholes stretching from Los Angeles to New York. Now imagine repaving all of it within 12 months. Is that even possible? Local leaders say our city has just accomplished a similar feat.
We will have paved the 2,400th mile of LA streets in this fiscal year, a new record for the city of Los Angeles.
LA Mayor Eric Garcetti says the improvements should lessen the likelihood of busted tires and wheel axles for LA drivers. This final mile of record-breaking paving for the fiscal year taking place on Figueroa Street in Highland Park. Much of it is now covered with a fresh batch of smooth black asphalt.
Today proves that the city of Los Angeles can do more with less and that there is plenty of room to operate more efficiently.
Today we finished paving about almost 10% of the city's streets in 1 year, and we'll do it again next year.
From fixing streets, the mayor then shifted the focus to fixing sidewalks. A recent settlement sets aside over $1 billion for sidewalk repairs citywide over the next 30 years. But whether or not homeowners and property owners should pay for repairs near their property is still up for debate. The mayor offers his take.
In the short term, we're saying we should fix it. And before we return the responsibility, I don't want to speak for the council, they still have to take up the policy, but I'll speak as mayor. I don't think that we should force anybody to fix it or have responsibility before we fix it, certainly as a homeowner. We should make those repairs and give them the capacity to deal with the trees that 3 years later may cause those sidewalks to be buckled again.
Meantime, the drive through Highland Park is expected to be a lot smoother. Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The city had previously given that stretch of Figueroa an F rating for road quality. Today, it receives an A. While they contain your personal information and instead of throwing them into the trash, many folks recently made sure their old documents don't come back to haunt them. Boxes of old papers and documents were destroyed as community members in Granada Hills lined up to get rid of all kinds of paperwork for free.
Old insurance cards, old registration, probably old citations that probably some of these fellas given me in the past. But all that stuff is, hindsight now. And it's good to protect your identity in that regard.
The LAPD partnered with LA Crime Stoppers, a nonprofit that operates an anonymous crime tip line, for this fundraising and shredding event held at the Target on Balboa Boulevard. Organizers say the fundraiser gives folks a way to protect their identity by shredding their personal documents.
People think, I just throw it in the trash and I don't have to worry about it. No, this is one sure way of making sure that your personal documents are not going to fall in the hands of a criminal or someone that's going to use that to their advantage.
LAPD works with Crime Stoppers to coordinate and investigate incoming crime tips. Officials say some of those tips have helped them solve cases.
Past month alone, we had about 158 tips that came in. Of those, about 29, almost 30 of them came on into yielding an arrest, which is very good.
The Crime Stoppers tip line, which averages about 900 tips a month, is completely anonymous, so officials are encouraging community members to continue sending them leads. There are several ways you can submit a tip by calling 800-222-TIPS or texting the letters TIP LA and your tip to 274637 or go online to lacrimestoppers.org. Just months ago, the mayor unveiled his sustainable city plan, and now a pilot project in the works will put LA a giant step ahead in cleaning up the air. The program will start in the poorest and most polluted LA communities. Anna Marcos has the story.
State and city leaders are launching what they hope becomes an electrical vehicle revolution that reaches into the lowest income communities, those neighborhoods often most affected by pollution.
We understand that we have a responsibility to act, not only for the sake of our planet, but for future generations, and also for the health of our communities as well as the health of our economy.
Senator Kevin De Leon has authored 2 state bills which will use greenhouse gas reduction and cap and trade revenue funds to launch a $1.6 million pilot program. The project will bring electric vehicle ride sharing to 4 of LA's poorest neighborhoods: South LA, Pico Union, Westlake, and Koreatown.
This is an opportunity to improve our neighborhoods that suffer the most from air pollution and other challenges.
Every EV is contributing to cleaning up our air.
The program would include a membership and work much like Zipcar-type ride-sharing programs, only cheaper and using electric vehicles.
The idea is you'd sign up. Once you're a member, you'd go on, reserve your vehicle. Let's say you have a 9 a.m. doctor's appointment an hour away. You'd pick up the car at 8 o'clock, go to your doctor's appointment, return the car by 11, and you'd be charged a per-hour basis in most cases.
And other research has shown car share creating savings of $150 to over $400 a month for car share members.
I will be using it because it's convenient, it's economical.
The City Council could approve the funds this month. The city would then find an operator to run the ride-sharing program, which could start as early as the end of the year. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
LA beat out other California cities for the award. Well, LAPD officers get ready to rumble in the ring to raise money for families of fallen comrades. Gil Reyes reports from ringside.
LAPD Metro Division Officer Guillermo Garcia goes mano y mano for charity.
Today is the Brawl at City Hall. It's the first annual event that we're going to be having here. All the proceeds and benefits going to go to our Memorial Foundation, which benefits officers and families of fallen officers.
Since 1972, the LA Police Memorial Foundation has raised more than $14.5 million for families of officers killed in the line of duty. Brawl at City Hall is their biggest boxing event of the year, pitting LAPD's boxing team against police and fire departments from Pasadena, West Covina, San Diego, and Big Bear. The LA County Sheriff's Department has female fighter Marina Lizarraga in their corner.
So what do you expect to win?
I'm here to win, sir. Nothing less.
Okay, so can you show me a little bit of what you're going to be doing?
Sure.
All right.
We're
doing this for the Los Angeles Police Memorial Foundation. They're near and dear to our hearts. I've forged a lot of close friendships with police officers, and I feel really special about representing the department.
I just personally would like to take the time to thank everybody that came out to support. Obviously, it's a rainy Saturday in the middle of July that we didn't expect, and we still have tons of people coming out here to support us.
While fighting for a good cause. In downtown L.A., Gil Reyes for L.A. This Week.
All 9 matches were set to take place outdoors, but had to move indoors to City of Angels boxing gym because of heavy rain. While every year on the second Tuesday night in August, crime takes a step back as the streets fill with kids, families, police officers, and anyone who wants to celebrate community. Anna Marcos brings us a National Night Out event in LA's Southeast Division.
It's how we do it, baby.
Clipper Darrell is on watch on National Night Out in South LA. Call him a sort of community peacemaker and cheerleader, and of course, a fan of all things Clippers. Tonight, he's got some advice for how to get along with police.
You have to understand who the police are. When they don't know who you are, let them understand who you are and quit getting belligerent, quit getting hype. You know what I'm saying? Calm down and say, hey, my name is Raul. I didn't know where I was going. I'm sorry, officer.
Tonight is indeed about both sides understanding each other. National Night Out started in 1984 to bring communities and their police officers together to band against crime and take back their streets. Since then, the annual event has grown to include 37 million people in communities all across the country.
We've transformed in how we do business. We're much more part of the community than we ever were.
Here in LA's Southeast Division, the National Night Out movement has been growing in spite of police and racial unrest in much of the country.
What I notice is an increase of people coming out and people really wanting to see and do things and kind of mending the relationships.
We can be one big, happy community striving together for the excellence of Los Angeles.
An enthusiastic standing ovation for Mayor Eric Garcetti, who stopped by to spend some face time with people on the street.
But it all starts with the community. One person at a time coming out of their home saying, these are our streets and we're going to reclaim them.
If we can get all the community to come as one, to work towards peace and understanding, that's what works for me.
Despite a recent uptick in crime, tonight at least, the kids, the families, the cops, even the dogs, all seem to be coming together and reclaiming their streets. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Communities across LA held National Night Out, including downtown LA and Hollywood. And social media played a big part as law enforcement and folks around the country shared their special moments of National Night Out. That's the focus of This Week in Tweets. LAPD's Ruby Malachi posted some photos of the evening, writing hashtag National Night Out at LAPD Rampart. It's great to take part in this incredible community building event. Councilmember Jose Huizar shared his own photos, tweeting, National Night Out is about law enforcement coming together to make our neighborhoods safe. While Felipe Fuentes met residents in Sylmar, posting, thanks LAPD Captain Todd Chamberlain for keeping our neighborhoods safe. And on the East Coast, New York Police Department posted a pic of an officer jumping rope with some girls, writing National Night Out, promoting police community through dialogue, sharing food, raffles, and jumping rope. And that's a look at This Week in Tweets. While gang violence spills over into social media, a former LAFD chief pilot is honored, and LA heeds the call for water conservation. All these stories and more in City Beat. Los Angeles Police Chief Charlie Beck addressed a recent upswing in gang-related shootings in South LA that left one man dead and a dozen people injured. During a news conference, the chief said that the violence stems from a long-standing feud between rival gangs, not to postings on social media. Social media posts with hashtags 100 Days, 100 Nights and Pray for LA suggested a possible increase in gang activity. Beck said the violence has not been linked to social media.
We have not seen any increase in events that we directly tie to this, but we're looking very closely at it.
The city of LA has met and surpassed Mayor Eric Garcetti's goal of 10% water reduction by this summer. Since the rollout of the mayor's executive directive in October 2014, LA residents and businesses leaped to action by altering water use and taking advantage of conservation rebate offers by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. The city of Los Angeles reduced its daily per capita water use by more than 13% this year when compared to the same time last year. The mayor encouraged folks to keep saving the drop, saying every bit counts. Councilmember Mitchell Englander joined Los Angeles Fire Department Chief Ralph Terrazas to dedicate the West Hills helicopter landing area in honor of former LAFD Chief Pilot Glenn V. Smith, who passed away in 2011 after a battle with cancer. The West Hills site is one of the city's 32 helispots, which serve as landing areas for LAFD helicopters to take on fuel and water or evacuate patients. Officials also announced the beginning of the fire department's annual $3.5 million 150-day contract for the Erickson Helitanker, a large helicopter capable of dropping 2,600 gallons of water, more than 7 times the amount of LAFD helicopters at a time on wildfires. LAFD Chief Pilot Glenn Smith was twice awarded the LAFD's Medal of Valor during his long career with the department and was the first African-American pilot at the Los Angeles Fire Department. Department of Recreation and Parks Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo and community members gathered recently for the grand opening ceremony of Patton Street Park and Community Garden. The new features include meandering walkways, fitness equipment, boulders for climbing, and safety surfacing surrounding a shipwrecked boat and octopus that children can climb on. An open play area houses a 4-seat merry-go-round, pendulum swing, and a small sand pit. A 19-foot-long custom metal slide is accessible by steps or boulders and whisks users from the upper park area to the lower. The far northern portion of the park is dedicated for use as a community garden. Additional park amenities include drought-tolerant landscaping, high-efficiency irrigation system, security gate, LED lighting, and community-designed mosaic art on custom seat walls. Patton Street Park is the 33rd park to open as part of the city's 50 Parks initiative. An urban dance event where performers dance their heart out, a musical celebration of a famous bunny and his Looney Tune pals, and a street event that highlights a unique LA neighborhood. All these in this week's Things to Do. World of Dance Tour is the largest urban dance event that has now become the most authentic international touring dance competition of its kind. Currently consisting of 15 U.S. domestic dates and 15 internationally licensed regions, World of Dance focuses on the art of street dancing and today's new age choreography. The world's best top dance troupes, hundreds of participants, and thousands of spectators enjoy performance festival settings where creativity is displayed and rewarded. While competing dancers are judged ever so closely, the spirit of each event is that of community over competition. Come watch the LA and World Finals as international groups participate in a global celebration acknowledging the world's best dancers at the Los Angeles Convention Center on Saturday, August 15th and 16th from noon to 10 p.m. For more, visit worldofdance.com. Warner Brothers presents Bugs Bunny at the Symphony 25th Anniversary. Join Los Angeles Philharmonic for a look back at 25 hilarity-filled years. Bugs Bunny and his Looney Tune pals have teamed up with live orchestras, playing those phenomenal scores, bringing audiences to their feet in laughter, cheers, and applause. The official Bugs Bunny at the Symphony Anniversary Party takes place at the Hollywood Bowl, where you'll see and hear Warner Brothers' greatest animated shorts, plus exciting surprises. Expect favorites like What's Opera, Doc?, The Rabbit of Seville, and Zoom and Board, as well as the live orchestra world premiere of Long-Haired Hair. Check it out on Saturday, August 15th. For tickets and information, visit HollywoodBowl.com. And watch your favorite bands play for free during Echo Park Rising, a neighborhood event in its 5th year that focuses on the music, creativity, diversity, and small businesses of Echo Park. There are multiple stages and activities throughout the weekend located on main routes of Sunset Boulevard, Glendale Boulevard, Alvarado Avenue, and Echo Park Avenue. In addition to the lineup of artists performing, shops, galleries, restaurants come together to celebrate the vibrancy of this eclectic boulevard. On August 14th through the 17th, more than 300 bands will descend on the neighborhood of Echo Park for 1 weekend of free outdoor shows. For more, visit epr.la. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
If you're in an accident, just stay. Call 911. Help if you can. You might save someone's life. Obey the rules of the road.
911 emergency, operator 271.
The city of Los Angeles receives over 2 million 911 calls every year. Hello, I'm Mayor Eric Garcetti.
I'm Chief Charlie Beck. A significant number of 911 calls are not emergencies.
911 should be used for emergency calls, such as preservation of life, a crime in progress, prevention of a crime, or a public hazard.
If your call is not an emergency, such as a loud party, verbal dispute, public nuisance, or lost or missing property, you can dial 1-877-ASK-LAPD to have the police respond.
Remember, call 1-877-ASK-LAPD for non-emergency calls.
Los Angeles Police Department, what are you reporting?
Don't worry, Patty. This isn't going to hurt me one bit. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Shapiro in beautiful Encino, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Open wide.
thank again Mr. Blumenfield. And to our visitors from Nagoya, welcome. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Shh. Today is Friday, August 14th. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. All are welcome. Mr. Clerk, we do have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonner, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Gregorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. David Rue moves. Mr. Curran Price seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Englander moves and Mr. Corrett seconds. Next.
Mr. President, there are recommendations to continue items 1A, E, and J to August 28, 2015.
So without objection, that'll be the order on those items.
Very good. To receive and file item 1Q, inasmuch as the property was determined to be an owner-occupied single-family dwelling and thus exempt from lien processing. To receive and file items 1C and 1F, inasmuch as the liens were partially rescinded and subsequently paid. And to receive and file items 1I and 1O, inasmuch as the liens were paid in full. Further, there are requests to continue item 2 to Tuesday, August 18, and item 3 to Wednesday, August 19.
Okay, then that'll be the order. That brings us where? Mr. Fuentes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple of continuations as well. 1P is in Paul, 1S is in Sam, and 1T is in Tom for 30 days, please.
And that would bring us where?
1R as Robert for 2 weeks.
So what's the date of the 30 and the 2 weeks?
P, S, and T would be 30 days, and that's September 16. And 1R was 2 weeks?
Yes, sir.
So
2
is that
weeks.
the 28th?
That brings us to August 28.
Okay, thank you. So ordered. So that brings us where?
Mr. President, that brings us to items 1 through 3. They're items noticed for public hearing.
Do we have cards?
Yes, sir. We have cards on items 1, and 2 and 3 have been continued, sir.
Okay, so let's move. Hold 1. Let's move on.
Very good. Items 4 through 6 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, members, we're on 4 and 6. Any specials on items 4 through 6? I do not see any. Let us prepare to vote on these items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. President, items 7 through 9 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Cards?
Yes, sir. Cards on all items.
Okay, so then we'll hold those items. That brings us where?
Item 10 is an item scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold it on the desk?
Yes, I would like to do that as well.
Very good, sir. On the continuation agenda, item 11 is an item for which a public hearing has been held.
Mr.
Item 11, yes.
Call 11 special, please.
Okay, item 11 special. So that brings us where?
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations or items called special.
Okay, before we go into the presentation portion of, before we start the presentation portion of today's agenda, I would recommend that we, Mr. Fuentes, Ms. Martinez, that we deal with item 11. So, Ms. Martinez, so now item 11 is before us.
Mr. President, I'd like to reopen the hearing for 10 minutes on each side, please. We continued it from Wednesday. There was the hearing had been satisfied in committee, but we opened it. The staff mentioned to us that there was an inadvertent error in the filing and notification to folks, although legally not required. Folks weren't notified, so today we've got people who are available and would like to open 10 on 10 on each side, please.
So what we'll do is we'll go 5 on 5. So we start off with Start off with Mr. David Arnold. Bill, I'm not sure about this last name. You'll have to help me with that. Linda, I'll let you pronounce your name, and I think I have a Tory Greer. Just please come forward, identify yourself. 1 second, Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a reminder to council members. This is a fair hearing matter requiring the heightened attention to the speakers at the podium or to the monitors at the council members' desks.
Okay, welcome. Identify yourself.
My name is David Arnold. Thank you, council members, for allowing this platform. Longtime resident in this community. I grew up down the street from the proposed development. Of course, I'm not against reasonable development. I'm concerned as the sand pits that we grew up next to, as they fill up, I'm concerned of the interface between the industry that is allowed to develop in the area and the interface between that industry and the residential. And to me, this proposed development just feels too aggressive. The size of the building and the lights and the traffic and noise and things of that nature. And I'm just looking to have a more reasonable interface to protect our community, to kind of keep what we grew up, more of a quiet, calm country living. And I'm just asking for more of a reasonable interface. And to me, this feels, you know, it's not just film studio. There's quite a bit of business for rental business. And
thank you, sir. Thank you. Is it Bill? I want to hear the last name. I know it's simple, but I'm missing something here.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. Ike. It's been mispronounced for decades.
Okay.
You're part of a long list.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Bill Ike, E-I-C-K. I reside at 9647 Stonehurst Avenue, Sun Valley, California. This proposal is inappropriate for several reasons. One, this is not a film studio. It is actually a party event rental business disguised as a studio. If they take away the event rental business, which is within 40 feet of everybody's RA1K neighbors and is 54 feet tall and 500 feet long, then they can have their film studio. But this, all they want to do is run a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week rental business next to people's residences. This violates CEQA. We have fair arguments as to why the mitigated negative deck is wrong. And in addition to that, a mere 2 weeks after this proposal was approved by the Planning Commission, what do we have but a proposal by the owner of the same property, several, I don't know, maybe right next to the proposed film studio, to build 360,000 square feet of warehouse space. This is a combined project which needs an EIR.
Thank you. Next, please come up and identify yourself.
Good morning, council members. My name is Linda Saramano. My family built the home at 109 Elinda Place, 10939 Elinda Place in 1956. My 94-year-old mother still resides there, and I've relocated from Texas back to take care of my mother over the past year. That area has been a respite for me, going through this with my mom, her illnesses. We've been there for almost 60 years. It's a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. It's very stable. I ask you to please do not allow this to be built right next to our homes. Move it over. Move it somewhere else. You know, I'm sure it's a nice project. I have nothing against the applicant. It just doesn't belong right next to our homes. We've got horses, chickens, llamas. It's an agricultural equestrian area. It's been there for a long time. I feel that we should get some concessions. Thank you. I urge you to reject this.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, J.D. Borelli for Tory, who's not here. I'm speaking for Tory's behalf. We are living in a RA1K zone. I can't understand how anyone can think that this project will integrate well with the neighborhood. In fact, if you look at the appeal, you will see 150 signatures from the Chippewa Homeowners Association opposing the project. Our neighborhood council, the Foothill Trails Neighborhood Council, opposes this project. This project was misrepresented. Now it has become something that's going to be open 24/7, 7 days a week. We can't understand how this commercial 5- and 7-story building will fit in with a neighborhood that is animal keeping and agricultural. The other thing is we all became aware of is that the developer, David Rosenheim, when we Googled him with Councilman Nuri Martinez, he sponsored a $700 a plate dinner for her. So we don't have that kind of money to sponsor, but we are constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. And Miss Linda Serromano did speak, correct? Okay. All right, so now, did we get Tory Greer and I just missed that? Tory Greer. Okay, now I'd like to call up Brad Rosenheim or him, Jesse Torrio, Alton Butler. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Brad Rosenheim, 21600 Oxnard Street. I'd like to thank the Plum Committee for their recommendation to deny the appeal and approve the studio project. This is a studio project, the first in the San Fernando Valley to be built. We would respectfully request that condition 14C be deleted from the record. This is an unenforceable condition. However, there is a condition that requires a plan approval in 2 years. So if there are operational issues, those can be addressed after 2 years of operation. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and we hope that you support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. So if next, please come forward and identify yourself.
Yes, sir. My name is Jesse Torrero, and I am the co-director of Coalition Against Human Trafficking in Sun Valley. And we are for this project for a couple of reasons. One, we have a heavy prostitution problem and human trafficking problem in the area. This will clean that up. We also have lots of issues with the gangs, graffiti, crime. We have poor streets in this area. This will all clean this up. We have an opportunity here to change Sun Valley from junkyards, from toxic waste dumps, from gravel pits. I've been here for 53 of my 54 years of life, and I've seen Sun Valley change dynamically through my lifetime. Also, we have a chance to kind of get some more good jobs, 400 good paying jobs. This is a film studio, $40 million project. We can change the dynamic, the way Sun Valley is and has been a place to take your trash or a place to develop great projects, have good jobs, and have a studio complex in our midst. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. If I could have the next gentleman come forward, identify yourself. Mr. Butler?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Alton Butler. Thank you so much for council people for listening to me this morning.
Hold on, Alton.
Yes, sir.
Go back.
I'd like to thank you all for your support up till now. This is a movie studio. The only thing that we would ask is that the 14C be deleted from the project for the simple reason is that in the warehouse, we do deliver equipment to our other stages and to locations. There's no way to distinguish at 2 o'clock in the morning if we're dropping off lighting, grip equipment, props, or event equipment for a studio job or a event job. So we open ourselves up for a huge amount of harassment for everyone, and I can only think that it would never be good for this project, and the hours of operation would kill the project. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Phelps? Gary August? So if I'm looking for a David Phelps, Sarah Mitchell, and a Gary. Well, please come forward. And I don't have a card, so you're going to have to fill out a card.
I believe I did fill out a card.
Your name?
My name is Philip Tabby. I'm a resident of the Sun Valley Stonehurst area, neighborhood watch captain. And good morning. I want to say that I really approve this project. I think it's a great use. Now, with all the crime rates slightly increasing in the city of Los Angeles, this is going to be one good thing for our neighborhood because it's a street coming in off of Glen Oaks Boulevard. We see prostitution, we see illegal dumping, drug use, drinking on Peoria Street. With the 24-hour use project, we'll be able to see a security guard on that street at all times, and we'll be able to better monitor our neighborhood. And I'd like to keep crime down in our neighborhood because we have been a very low crime area.
Thank you. So I'm looking for David Phelps, Sarah Mitchell, and a Gary August. I've got to call your, if you're here, please come forward. We only have a couple of minutes left. Sir, you are?
I'm Gary Agus.
Go right ahead.
I represent the Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council, and we are for the proposal and would like that you deny the appeal. We've worked with the applicant, the movie studio, CD6, Nuri Martinez's office, and the planning department to see that this project is an asset to the community of Sun Valley, and we believe we've achieved that. It's been mentioned by the appellants that Foothill Trails Neighborhood Council has opposed the proposal. I've worked with the people at Foothill Trails for over a year on this, and that's just not true. Foothill Trails is not opposed to the project, and neither are we. We think it's an asset to the community of Sun Valley.
Thank you, Gary. So I'm looking for Sarah Mitchell and David Phelps. Are you David?
Yes.
David, you're the last person. Yes, ma'am.
Morning, I'm Sarah Mitchell. I'm with the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA. We represent more than 400 businesses that welcome this project into the Valley. The state did their job. They upped the film credit to $300 million plus. So now it's time for the city of LA to do its job, to bring more space and location and resources so that we can get the most out of these projects, make sure that filming comes back to Los Angeles. We appreciate the support and efforts of Councilwoman Martinez to bring more of these spaces and locations to the Valley in particular. This business, they have a proven track record of being a good business owner and a good neighbor in their current spaces. They've done a lot of work to make sure that they're doing outreach with the neighborhood and with the surrounding area, and we feel very confident this is going to be a great addition to the Valley, and it's going to really help bring in more business and more filming to Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps.
Good morning, David Phelps with the Association of Independent Commercial Producers. We're a trade association that represents over 350 small and medium-sized production companies, and we wholeheartedly support this project. This is a needed project to generate jobs in the San Fernando Valley. It's the first major studio project in the Valley in many years, and we look forward to working with Line 204 to see this through and see the jobs that it generates. So we urge a yes vote. Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Martinez, did you want to speak first on this issue? Mr. Fuentes.
Mr. President, the item before us is the Plum Committee report. There's no motion. There is a motion, then you'd want to speak first, Ms. Martinez. There's no motion. So we're going to adopt the project with the recommendations that came out of the Plum Committee. That includes 14C?
No.
So you'd want to speak first then if you want to delete something.
Mr. President and members of the City Council, as many of you know, I am a resident of Sun Valley, and before I got elected to the City Council, I worked on environmental issues. And in Sun Valley, I'd like to show you pictures of the conditions on Peoria in and around that area where the proposed project is being proposed to get built. A lot of you on the City Council in Sacramento were instrumental in passing the film tax credit here in the state of California and continue to be huge advocates to ensure that filming comes back to Los Angeles. This is where the rubber meets the road. These are the kinds of projects that we have got to continue to support and ensure that they get built in communities like Sun Valley. And the reason I continue to talk about this area is because the incompatible land use decisions that were made by people decades ago, generations after generations of families in Sun Valley have to deal with the amount of waste transfer stations that get built in the city, most often get built in my district in Sun Valley. The landfills, the amount of landfills that we have in my community, in my district in particular, don't get built anywhere else except for the communities of Sun Valley. We are talking about human trafficking issues on Lancashire and now moving on to Peoria, illegal dumping. The list goes on and on and on about the incompatible land use decisions that were made 3-4 decades ago that no one has ever made a stink about until we started community organizing and calling attention to the fact that children in this community deserve to play in safe and clean streets like any other kid in this city. And when community like Gary Agus and members of the Sun Valley Neighborhood Council, I know that Michael Guerra is not here today, Cindy Sawyer and Jesse Terrero, when we get together and talk about how we need to change the landscape of Sun Valley, we're talking about building projects like this, that we don't have to go down Montague and Brantford and be inundated with auto dismantlers and the amount of junk that gets built in my district. That is not fair, and it's time for us to do something about it, and I'm very happy to support this project. This project has been vetted over and over again. I can't tell you how many times the developer himself, Mr. Alton Butler, has gone to a number of community meetings trying to make people comfortable and explain what he's trying to build here. If we want to get serious about building and continuing to bring back filming in Los Angeles, colleagues, I ask you to support this project. It's needed. It will transform the landscape of my community of Sun Valley, and it's about time we do the right thing. I wanted to, if you want to say something, Mr. Fuentes, I wanted to end debate and call for the question, but if you want to.
So I just want to be clear, Mr. President. So the item before us is the Plum recommendations without any amendments?
No, colleagues, what I'm asking for is to support the adoption of the Plum Committee recommendations to deny the appeal and sustain the actions of the City Planning Commission and to adopt the final revised modified conditions of approval transmitted by the City Planning on August 10th with further amendments to delete the condition of 14C in that document.
Second. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. So now, Mr. Fuentes.
To the condition 14C. And Mr. President, I'd like to bifurcate the vote. One on the condition, including it in the recommendation from the Planning and Land Use Committee, and then one on whatever is left over after that. So colleagues, this is actually a very, very good project. And I'm excited, Ms. Martinez, that you mentioned incompatible land uses, because I think that speaks directly to the heart of what 14C is trying to do. Colleagues, this project is really good, not just for Sun Valley, but it's good for Los Angeles and the state of California. Ms. Martinez astutely pointed out, colleagues, that all of us, in one way or the other, have been supporters of the film industry in California. And Mr. Krikorian, you and I, as authors to the extension of the tax credit, I think are some of the larger examples of recent activity to try to make sure that this industry perseveres in California. This project, colleagues, is very, very interesting in that we are giving the ability for this operator to have a studio in what was formerly A2 land. Now that necessitates a conditional use permit, which is very, very important. And we, myself, as the mover of the motion in committee to deny the appeal, recognize that our thumb should be a little bit heavier on the scale when it comes to deciding where it is that we site and locate these facilities. So much so that on the studio portion of this project, I am absolutely okay with 24-hour operation. But for the CUP, we wouldn't have the ability, they wouldn't have the ability to operate 24 hours a day. But for the CUP, they'd be limited to their hours from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Corner commercial lot, that's what's typical. But because we value these types of projects so much, I realize that we need to deny the appeal and move towards 24 hours. Now, the second part of this operation is also a rental facility. It's hard to distinguish how much of the rental activity is actually part of the studio facility, which is why condition 14C, without objection in the committee, spoke to the fact to try to bifurcate the use here on this parcel so that way we have little or minimize the impact to the residences who are directly affected by this operation. Now, they all happen to be CD7 residents. There are no residents or residential impacts in CD6. But the condition basically says that we would limit the hours of operation to the non-studio rental event facility aspect of this business to be consistent, colleagues, with the restrictions that are along Peoria Street already. There is, for example, a truck logistics firm that does deliveries, and Penske's the thing. They are limited in their hours of operation. That entire street, when it comes to business that's commercial, rental, and logistics, is limited in its hours of operation. So what we were trying to do with 14C is limit the frequency of the activity on that site. Again, absolutely supportive of 24-hour operation for the studio facility, but when it comes to the non-studio work, the event planning rental facility, we want it to be consistent with every other business on Peoria Street that has restrictions and limitations. So when you think about it, 50 feet doesn't make an awful lot of difference when you're thinking about a 24-hour operation. But when you're looking at an entire city block that already has restrictions for that type of activity against 24 hours operations, we're just trying to conform the non-studio event rental facility aspect of this operation. So with that, I would ask for a no on the deletion of item 14C, and then we would take up the matter in chief after the determination of this vote.
Okay. Ms. Martinez.
Yeah, again, I want to reiterate how much we vetted this project. The condition that Mr. Fuentes is referring to on 14C will absolutely hinder the ability for this project to be successful. So I ask for that to be deleted from the original motion.
Could you repeat that?
I'm just reminding our colleagues about the fact that this condition will actually hinder the operation of the movie studio in this area. So we ask that it be deleted.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to defer to the clerk, and clerk, in what order are we going to go through this? So that we can accommodate both members.
Mr. President, I would think we would first vote on whether to delete condition 14C, and then subsequently vote on what is remaining.
Okay, so that'll be the first vote. Let us open the roll. I couldn't hear you. Ms. Martinez is asking for an aye vote on this.
Mr. President, I'm asking for an aye vote on the motion.
Yeah, but this is a separate, this is on the amendment now.
This is the motion to delete 14C.
Yes. So, and Mr. Felipe, Mr. Fuentes, you're asking for a no? Okay, so Ms. Martinez for a yes. So, Mr. Clerk, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Let's tabulate the vote.
10 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay. Now, next.
Now we would vote on the remaining, which is the Plum Committee report as amended to remove item 14C.
Okay, so again.
Excuse me, condition 14C.
So again, it would be Martinez, yes. Mr. Fuentes, no. Let us open.
The deletion of 14C was important to me. I am not speaking against
I got you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So, and in fact, I'm glad you reminded me. So now, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. That brings us where, Mr. Clerk?
And Mr. President, that was as amended. That brings council back to presentations or items called special.
Okay, so now if I could get Ms. Yes.
Please.
Forthwith. Without objection, forthwith. Ms. Martinez. Ms. Martinez, I'm going to do a presentation and need you. Okay, thank you, Madam President and members. Today is a very special day for a lot of reasons. One reason, though, is today is Pet Adoption Friday, and we have before us a cute, and he's a terrier mix named Lewis, right? Terrier mix named Lewis, and Lewis is 2 years old, and Lewis is looking for a home. We at the City of Los Angeles have a 100% dog adoption rate. So I'd like for all of you that can see this on television to look at Lewis. This is a keeper. He is looking for a home. And remember, whenever you adopt one of our companion animals, you could be saving their lives. We do the very best that we can to get as many animals adopted as possible, but that would be impossible for us if you didn't participate and help us. So we're asking all of you to find a home for this fine young gentleman here, 2-year-old Lewis. With that, you're probably saving a life. If you ever wanted unconditional love, an individual, a companion animal that's going to be there for you on good days and bad, I highly recommend Lewis. I'm joined by one of our great volunteers with us today, Arlene. Arlene, maybe you can tempt the audience and kind of take Lewis around. But what we're going to do, good people, we're going to keep Lewis in the back for a while. So if anyone is interested in bringing this, you guys should have called him Scotty. He looks like a Scotty more than a Lewis, but you could change his name. He is a darling, looking for a home, and I do hope we find someone to adopt him before the day is out. So with that said, please, Arlene will be in the back. We have a 100% dog adoption rate. Anybody in the audience that would like the dog, please speak out. Anybody that's watching this on council television or on here listening to this, if you'd like to come down and check Lewis out, please do that. He'll be in the back until we find him a home. So again, I want to thank Arlene for all of her hard work as one of the best volunteers that we have for the City of Los Angeles, and she brings us the coolest dogs. So Lewis, it was a pleasure to meet you, and I'm very optimistic. Maybe Vanessa, you may have to take Lewis home with you, but we will find a home for Lewis. So again, Pet Adoption Friday, 100% adoption rate. Let's keep it going. Save a life. Have a companion animal that will love you forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues,
Here, Arlene. If I could get Mr. Rue.
Right before your presentation, I'd like to give a warm welcome to the learning community, Loyola Marymount University freshman class of 2019. Welcome. Please stand up and welcome our guests. Thank you for being here.
Kind of sit on the front row when he gets up. There'll be room.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point in time, again, and welcome, young people. I'm proud to be joined by our colleague and friend, council member David Rue. This is a very important time, not just for the Korean community, but for this country and, more importantly, this city, because we do have the largest population of Koreans in Los Angeles outside of Korea. So if I could ask my dear friend James Ahn and part of your entourage to join us. Okay, whatever. Show some respect. Okay, members, this Saturday will be a huge celebration again for the City of Los Angeles and for the Korean community. We will celebrate, and I'm going to do my best, Kwanbok Chul, which is restoration of the light. It is the National Liberation Day of Korea, celebrating 70 years of liberation from Japanese rule. One of the things that makes our country and our city so dynamic is the diversity that we have. And this is an opportunity for us to take a moment and to celebrate a lot of the cultural contributions that we have received from the Korean community that it has been my honor to represent for quite some time. I am joined today by a history maker in his own right, David Ryu, the first Korean American council person to ever be elected, a former co-worker of mine, and an individual that has taken to this job like a duck takes to water. So we are glad to have you aboard, David, and I'm going to ask you if you would please join me in this presentation, and then I'm going to call up a very dear friend to say a few words representing the community. So, members, if we could give a round of applause for our own member, Mr. David Ryu. Oh, I look at that. I got it. Yes.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you for allowing me to join you today on this historic day. And as we celebrate the 70 years of Korean independence, also known as Kwangbok-chol, meaning Restoration of Light Day. Los Angeles is home to Koreatown, as well as the largest population of ethnic Koreans outside of Korea. But Korean Americans are spread out all over our region, contributing to a rich cultural tapestry of our city. Los Angeles also has a vital cultural and economic ties with our sister city, Busan. Our relationship has been solidified with the Korean Friendship Bell located in Councilmember Buscaino's district, Angels Gate Park in San Pedro, and the beautiful Korean Navy turtle ship, gifted from the mayor of Busan, located right here in City Hall Rotunda. My parents and I arrived from Korea just as many immigrants envisioned, to live in Los Angeles and to share in the American experience. Tonight and tomorrow, we celebrate 70 years of Korean independence, but we also celebrate diversity, cross-cultural understanding, and the appreciation of the Korean experience. And I think this is a very opportune time. 우리 한인 리더들이 있을 때요, 우리 LAC에서 한국말로 축하하는 게 너무나 하고 싶었습니다, 한번. 우리 감사합니다. 우리 한인 커뮤니티 리더들 때문에, 우리 코리아타운 때문에 여기까지 왔습니다. 너무나 감사하고 이번 광복절에 이런 좋은 행사할 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ryu, and thank you for being a real asset to this body. It is now my pleasure to present to you an individual that I consider a close friend, a dear friend. He is the president of the Korean Federation. Ladies and gentlemen, President James An.
Thank you very much.
I got to turn around.
안녕하십니까? 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Good morning, Mr. President Hubble Wesson and honorable council members. And thank you for inviting us to City Hall to commemorate this year's Korean Independence Day. On August 15, 1945, Korea gained its independence after 36 years of oppressive Japanese colonial rule. Every year on this day, Koreans all over the world celebrate Korea's liberation and the birth of modern-day South Korea by raising the Korean flag. This year's event is especially meaningful as it marks the 70th anniversary. And on this day, we celebrate and reflect back on 70 years of incredible growth and achievement. From the ashes of war, South Korea has grown into a world economic and cultural power. We also celebrate the close relationship between the United States and South Korea as we look to grow this alliance in the future. Today, we honor the many thousands of comfort women that suffered as sexual slaves during the war. We call upon the Japanese government to apologize and finally take full responsibility for its role in this tragedy. Only then will the surviving victims finally have their peace, and only then can the two countries build a strong and lasting relationship for the future. We urge this council and the city of Los Angeles to stand with us in our effort for justice and truth on this critical issue. Thank you for your support, and the community is grateful for your valued friendship. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we have a resolution.
And Mr. President, there are two members on the queue as well.
Oh, okay.
Mr. O'Farrell?
1 second. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, President Wesson. Thank you, Councilmember Ryu, Mr. Ahn, Robert, and delegation, entire delegation. I have a little section of Koreatown in the 13th District, and so I wanted to rise and just say congratulations on this very important, solemn, but also celebratory occasion, and just say 축하합니다. Congratulations. Thank you.
Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you very much, Madam President. I just wanted to rise to note the momentous, historic occasion that this is. 70 years of independence for the Republic of Korea, 70 years of extraordinary friendship between the Republic of Korea and the United States of America, our shared values of commitment to democracy, our shared future in trade and economic vitality across the Pacific Rim. This has been one of the closest friendships that any two nations can have. And I'm especially proud that we here in Los Angeles are the home of the largest Korean diasporan community in the world. And I'm especially proud that we get to celebrate this important 70th anniversary, 70 years of success after oppression and occupation by Japan, 70 years of peace and development after so many years of terror and abuse at the hands of an occupying nation. To have this celebration on the same day that we can celebrate the arrival of the first Korean American member of the City Council in the history of the city of Los Angeles is a remarkable, remarkable moment that we all take great joy in. And so I want to welcome all of you to City Hall and thank you, and especially celebrate with you the arrival of our colleague, David Ryu.
Mr. Harris Dawson?
Thank you, Madam President. I also wanted to rise and thank folks for joining us in this celebration today, and thank our President, Mr. Herb Wesson, who's been such a giant advocate of the South Korean American community here in Los Angeles and a great representative. And I'm also proud to be a freshman and in the class of the first Korean American member of this body, Mr. David Ryu, my colleague and friend. So we appreciate you, and let's give him another round of applause while we're here. Also, the 8th Council District isn't necessarily known as a highly populated area by the Korean American community, but we are home to the Korean Cultural Center on Vermont and 24th, and so I want to recognize them. And then maybe some of you in the audience, we learned this history when we were preparing today. Folks may or may not know that South Los Angeles is often the landing spot for immigrants as they come into the Los Angeles area. And so it is no different for South Korean immigrants to Los Angeles. Many folks went to Foshay and Manual Arts High School and LA High School back in the day and were residents of South LA. And so we still have a community there that's very, very active as a faith community and as well as being very, very civically engaged. And so, again, we thank you and are happy to join in the celebration.
Mr. President.
I think I need to get a little taller. But anyway, for all that you've done for the great city of Los Angeles, let me say to all of my Korean brothers and sisters, Taedanhi Kamsamnida, and we'd like to present you, Mr. President, with this proclamation is signed by all of the members plus the mayor, I believe the controller and the city attorney as well. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause.
Colleagues, we want to welcome the Metropolitan Los Angeles branch of the American Society of Civil Engineers with us here today for their annual legislative day at City Hall. Welcome. Are you here? Please stand. Welcome. And later today, they will be having their annual award dinner at the Tom Bradley Room to recognize more than 30 outstanding projects and individuals. Welcome to City Hall and have a great legislative day. Thank you. Mr. Price, are you ready?
Madam Chairman, members, this is National Health Center Week, and we've got celebrations going on all over the country celebrating healthcare practitioners and individuals. Practitioners and organizations. And today we're going to be recognizing Dr. Moll. But before I talk about his great achievements, let me give you some background about the organization that he works for to put this in some perspective. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of visiting the South Central Family Health Care Center located in my district on 44th and Central Avenue. South Central Family Health Center provides primary care, pediatrics, mental health care, as well as dental services to a largely unserved community. Their mission is to improve the quality of life for the diverse community of inner-city Los Angeles that they represent by providing affordable and comprehensive health care and education in a welcoming, multicultural environment that's very commendable. Dr. John Dennis Mull, who we are honoring today, is one of their outstanding champions and has been a practicing physician in at the South Central LA facility for the past 16 years. Dr. Mull has a career as a medical educator spanning 5 decades. After completing his undergraduate degree at Harvard and his MD at the Medical College of Virginia, Dr. Mull was drafted into the Army and served 2 tours in Vietnam. Dr. Mull credits that experience with fostering his lifelong mission to improving the health care for those living in poverty. Dr. Mull still sees patients starting at 7 a.m. every day while teaching medical students. He rarely misses a day of work, and in his spare time, I learned, he enjoys reading and teaching songs to his 2 African gray parrots. Joining me today to say a few words about Dr. Mull are Rosie Rios, who's on the board of the South Central Family Health Center, and Dr. Ruby Ray Morones, Chief Medical Officer of the center. Ladies.
Hi, I'm Dr. Raya Morones, and I want to thank the council for giving us the opportunity to do this tribute to Dr. Mull. Dr. Mull is one of those doctors that you consider an honorable person. Back when I was a youngster, it was an honor to be a doctor. And for many different reasons, HMOs and such, things have changed. But Dr. Mull is one of those doctors that you would look up to. I look up to him. He is a rock in our clinic. He's always there. I've been at South Central for 2.5 years. I've never seen Dr. Mull call in sick. He is the leader of our continuing medical education committee, and he helps me with my job in terms of keeping all our providers up to date on all the new things that come along. If I were to describe Dr. Mull in a few words, I would say smart, caring. He's wise because he's traveled so many countries, he's experienced so many things, and he's down to business. So when my daughter was without insurance between graduate school and getting her first job, getting insurance from her first job, she got sick. I trusted her to Dr. Mull. I feel like he is a wonderful doctor, someone I look up to, and you should all look up to him. And I want to thank Dr. Mull for the years of serving the poor and working at our clinic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we hear from Dr. Mull, let's bring up the CEO of the center. The real guiding force has been a real source of inspiration in the community and in this institution, Dr. Richard Volitz.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, Dr. Mull, why don't you get over here, Dr. Mull? He's been an inspiration to all of us, but, you know, Dr. Mull can go anywhere, and he comes to really almost the poorest area of LA County, serving us in the city here, the poorest people, the hardest to reach, the most vulnerable populations, bringing his expertise that he's really worked with around the world. Dr. Mull has worked in Pakistan, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia, and established a clinic in Africa where he was sending and taking students from USC Medical School as well as from our clinic to train them on how to really take care of patients who are the poorest of the country. So he's done a lot. And I really want to thank him and feel honored that he's working for us. But, you know, one thing that he really inspired me with a long time ago when my daughter was in the 6th grade, she's now in college, she interviewed Dr. Mull for a program she was doing called The Power of One, how one person can change the world. And Dr. Mull quoted her, someone that he said that he followed throughout his life, and that was Albert Schweitzer. And Dr. Mull said, if you really want to find true happiness in life, then you really need to help people. And that's really what Dr. Mull has done all his life. Thank you. Dr. Mull.
Thank you.
Councilman Price and members of the City Council and distinguished guests, thank you for this wonderful award. It's been a great privilege to go to work every day in South Central taking care of the hardworking people who live there. And I'll try to be worthy of this award. Thank you.
And we're joined by members of the board, some of the doctors, and your wife is with us today, correct? Let's introduce hers.
Hello. Thank you all so much for honoring my husband. He loves his work. He often says he sometimes gets tired at 3:30 in the morning when he gets up to drive from Orange County to LA. But once he steps in that door, he feels a tremendous energy from all of the wonderful people working there and the patients who are his friends. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I'm one of the Dr. Moll's patients. Look like it's been longer than 16 years. Look like it's been a long, long time. But he the best doctor in the world. Wow. I had high blood pressure, and nobody could get it down. It ain't been up in 16 years with Dr. Moll. We love him, and one of the things I like about Dr. Moll, he cares about the poor and the needy. We have a lot of poor people in South Central Los Angeles, and he literally take money out of his pocket to feed them. He also donates to our organization. I have a nonprofit organization called Cover the Homeless, and he do donate to our organization. So we thank him so much, and thank Curran Price for the good work that you do in your district. South Central is changing because of Curran Price. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Finally.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Tumani Leatherwood. I'm vice chair of the board for South Central Family Health Clinic. I'm a Kaiser physician, but Kaiser has been very, very supportive of South Central Family Health Center, largely because of the type of physicians they have, like Dr. Moll. Again, congratulations. Thank you so much for your dedication. Thank you so much for your dedication to the community and all that you do.
Mr. Price,
Members.
we have one member on the queue, Mr. Harris Dawson.
So much, Madam President. Thank you so much, Council Member Price. Dr. Moll, I'm happy to join in the celebration of you today. It's very apropos that you're here today. Today is the 50th anniversary of the community clinic movement and the creation of community clinics around the country, and South Central Family Clinic has been a star in that movement because of your leadership, and we really appreciate you. I cannot go without mentioning my own doctor, Dr. Leatherwood, who's there on Manchester and Dinker in the 8th District. Thank you for being here today. But all of you understand, and we think we need more people like you that understand that health care should be a cause and not a business. So again, thank you so much for all of your service.
Thank you, members. Again, Dr. John Dennis Moll.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Come on around here.
Mr. Koretz, you'd like to do a quick introduction?
Thank you, Madam President. One of the great sources of joy for council offices is the tremendous quality of our interns. And Kai McNamee, whose last day in my office is today, has been a sterling example. He's a sophomore at New West Charter High School. And some of you may have had the pleasure of meeting his parents, who own and run the Kai Kai dumpling stand at the Thursday City Hall Farmers Market. Kai is like his parents. They're all friendly and dedicated people who believe in community involvement and public service. And Kai is the founder and president of his school's Model United Nations Club. Last year he interned for State Senator Ben Allen. And in my office, he's drafted articles for our newsletter, helped research policy and community issues, and worked on our database. So I want to thank Kai so much for everything that he's done, and best wishes in the years to come.
Mr. O'Farrell, are you ready for your presentation?
Thank you, Madam President. I am joined by our colleague David Rue. This is another celebration of a wonderful facility in the great Council District 13 in relation to National Health Center Week, which it began on the 9th of August through August 15th. National Health Center Week aims to raise awareness about the mission and accomplishments of America's health centers, the largest and most successful system of primary care. Today, I'm highlighting the incredible work of Clínica Monsignor Romero in the 13th District in Westlake. And I am joined by some of their wonderful leaders, including Executive Director and my friend Sandra Rosato, Rebecca Pleitez, Ana Grande, Ana Yolanda Martinez. And I had the great pleasure of traveling to El Salvador recently with two of these individuals, and what an incredible experience that was. As you may know, health centers started as a pilot project during President Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty. And this year is particularly special as it marks the 50 years since the first health center opened its doors nationwide. These clinics see more than 1.4 million patients each year. That's nearly 1 in 10 people in the country, where clinics serve 418,276 patients aged 19 and under. And more often than not, these health clinics are located in underserved neighborhoods. And let me just tell you, at Clínica Romero, it is a busy beehive of activity all the time and fulfills such a deep need in the Westlake community in my district. Health centers provide high-quality, cost-effective, and accessible primary and preventative care, including integrated medical, oral, vision, behavioral health, and pharmacy services to all individuals regardless of insurance status or ability to pay, and their dental care there is also amazing. Health centers nationally employ nearly 157,000 full-time positions, including more than 11,300 physicians and more than 8,400 nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and certified nurses, as part of a multidisciplinary clinical team designed to treat the whole patient. In my district, as I mentioned, Clínica Romero, a federally qualified health center whose mission is to improve the availability, accessibility, and coordination of primary and preventative health care services for people without medical coverage, and I am glad, honored to have them join us. Today, they have compiled a significant record of success that includes reducing income and ethnic health disparities in one of the poorest and most challenged communities of Westlake, Rampart, Pico Union area. They have a well-established chronic disease management program, a women and children's program that provides prenatal, pediatric care and family planning, and a multitude of services such as dental, mental health, substance abuse, and pharmaceutical services. The unique one-stop shop model of care at these health centers allow individuals who experience the highest health risk and the most serious illness of burden to overcome significant economical, sociological, cultural, and linguistic barriers to primary care. I applaud their efforts to provide access to affordable, high-quality, and cost-effective health care to the medically vulnerable and underserved. And like Clínica Romero, I am proud to highlight the high-quality services, staff, and overall care available in community clinics and health centers in the city of Los Angeles. And now I'd like to bring up my colleague standing next to me, David Rue, who chairs the Committee on Health and Education, to say a few words.
I'd like to thank my colleague, Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, for allowing me to join in this presentation. Today we recognize and celebrate National Health Center Week. And as a former employee of Kettering Community Health Center, I've seen firsthand the impact community clinics can have on people's lives. Health centers serve over 24 million Americans at over 9,000 delivery sites in all 50 states. And one in every 15 people living in the United States depend on their services. Today, we are joined by Clínica Romero a local healthcare center that has been providing services to more than 15,000 patients annually, at 3 clinics located in some of the most disadvantaged neighborhoods here in Los Angeles. 2015 marks the 50th anniversary since the first community health center opened its doors. Thank you to Clínica Romero and all our local community centers for the work you've accomplished over the last 5 decades. Because of you, people from all walks of life, especially those most in need, are able to obtain medical services they deserve. Here's to another 50 years of local governed and affordable health care. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, I would now like to introduce my friend and someone who came aboard as Executive Director right around the time I came into office 2 years ago, who has done and is doing an amazing job at Clínica Romero, Sandra Rosato. You bet.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the City Council. Thank you for including us in this morning's meeting. This week, we celebrate National Health Center Week, a time to honor the legacy of community health centers. As the Executive Director of Clínica Romero, a federally qualified health center serving the Pico Union and Boyle Heights areas, one of the most densely populated and disadvantaged areas of the city, I am proud to be joining in this celebration. This year's National Health Center Week theme, Celebrating Our Legacy, Shaping Our Future, highlights 50 years of recorded history and growth of health centers who serve as a medical home for over 22 million people nationally. At Clínica, we serve as a medical home to over 15,000 patients annually. As you know, Clínica Romero has historically served uninsured patients in Los Angeles for over 32 years. Our health centers have become the second home to thousands of families in need of primary care. It fills me with deep gratitude knowing that when we go to work every day, we're challenged to do our very best to serve our families. Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, I want to take this opportunity to express our sincerest gratitude to you, a leader and a friend, for this honor, support, and recognition. Thank you. Councilmember David Ryu, as a former community health center administrator, you understand the vital role of health centers, and I commend you for remaining focused on building healthier and safer communities. Thank you. Today, we're grateful for your support and happy that we are working with families so they have affordable access. Thanks to leaders like you, our initiatives are possible. On behalf of our patients, our promotoras, our promotores, and community leaders, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to talk in this morning's meeting and for the tremendous recognition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, this is really what Los Angeles is all about. Agencies and organizations like Clínica Romero who do all of these wonderful things while no one is looking, that serve thousands of people a week, building up the community. That really encapsulates the spirit of Los Angeles and the City of Angels. And it is on that note that I'd like to present the Certificate of Recognition on National Health Center Week to Clínica Romero. You get in the middle between David and I, and we'll take the picture and make sure everyone gets in.
Buenos días otra vez.
We're going back to it. So we're going back. Yeah. Rebecca.
Price?
Yeah, just a quick word before they disband. I just want to join my colleagues in thanking them for the wonderful job that Clínica Romero does, not only Pico Union, not only Boyle Heights, but also in the 9th District. And so we appreciate your service, your dedication, and your commitment. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell and Mr. Rue. Mr. Clerk, we're going to move on to item 10.
Dion, are you ready? Your people ready?
Item 10, Mr. Clerk.
Item 10, called special for cards.
Mr. Eric Previn, are you here? Item 10, sir.
Good morning, Council President Wesson. It is Eric Previn. Today, this is a closed session item, but is it possible, if you're going to announce a settlement upon going into closed session, that I could defer my comment to that time, ma'am?
No, sir, you are speaking on this issue now.
Okay, so then, okay, well, in the event that it's settled, these are a couple cases. It's a mush together, if I got it correctly. It's actually Sharon Bransford, Stephen Schrager, and Rachel Tash versus City of LA, and then LA Superior Court, case number BC 565618, which is Haley Fontaine versus City of LA. It's a number of cases. They all have to do with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, which apparently there were some customer claims related to billing errors and overcharges, which is all of the council members who are attending today know is very important to the constituent residents. Regrettably, there are 3 seated at the moment, including yourself, ma'am. So that is a total of 4. I want to be fully clear that it's fair that there are 4 seated, and there may be some standing. I can't scan the room. But I would hope that that the city's claims of breach of contract, fraud, and misrepresentation in the defendant's actions in implementing the DWP's new customer information and billing system, I would just hope that the representatives are looking out for the constituent residents. We saw a case that came through, I believe it was yesterday, where we settled not exactly the same kind of case for $95 million. Wait a minute. Yeah. But it was $1 billion that the residents were owed, and the city made a very sweet deal. That's in the LA Times yesterday. So I just ask you to do your best and try to give the public a chance also to address the items once we have heard about the historic settlements, because that would be a good opportunity as well. Maybe you could put it on the agenda for the next week, and then it could be done. That's how the Board of Supervisors do it. So thank you so much.
Mr. Herman, item 10.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we are speaking about the breach of a contract by DWP. The misrepresentation and actions implemented by DWP, who Tom LaBonge now represents. The new customer information of billing without any hope and gain by all of you to understand that you were misrepresented by LA City and LA DWP for fraud, abuse, and waste. And as you all know that, within my 1 minute, Mitch Englander's running for county supervisor, and I suggest you vote no, because he's stuck on stupid. Mitch Englander,
he is not talking about this item.
You're not on the subject, item 10.
Mitch Englander, vote no.
Mr. Clerk, that concludes cards on item 10. Sergeants, can you please clear the room? We're going into closed session.
Okay, we're back in a regular session. I'm going to take up, we'll go item 8 at this time. I have Mr. Haynes, Doug Haynes, and Mr. Herman on item 8. Yes, sir.
Hi, good morning. My name is Doug Haynes. I'm on the board of both East Hollywood Neighborhood Council and all the Hollis City Neighborhood Council, and I chair the planning committees for both. On this item, I just want to express concern about a pattern we've seen repeatedly with CD13, and in all due respect, where these items come before the council, there's no advance notice to the neighborhood council so that we can do outreach and we can engage the community. There are 68 units on these 3 buildings. There are approximately then about 130 people who would be displaced as a result of this project. We'd like to be able to do outreach to those people and make them aware of it. There are 2 rent-controlled buildings that would be part of this project. And so I have to ask, what about the affordability for those people who are currently under rent control? What will happen to them? I don't think it's fair for the community not to be made aware of this. And David Rue, I don't see you in the room right now, came into office on the premise that you would be reaching out to the community prior to support for projects such as this. So, Councilman Rue, I would ask that you would meet with the community on this project so that they know what's going on. None of the people who currently live in these units are aware of the fact that they would potentially be displaced, and I think they deserve that right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Herman, item 8.
Well, it's very obvious at 6501 Yucca Street in Los Angeles, California, there's a motion by Mr. O'Farrell for the issuance of a multifamily housing revenue bond, but it's not to exceed $8 million in order to help, oh no, wait a minute, $8,650,000 in order to help finance the acquisition of rehabilitation of the Hollywood Community Housing Corporation. I demand a hold on this item and that the city attorney record this, that I oppose, along with the first gentleman, until due process and the minutes are publicly heard on our behalf. And also, you forgot to read item number 10 in the back to us.
No, you're off the subject. Thank you very much. You're off the subject and disrupting the meeting. Okay, so on this item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Move forward. We'll move forward to item 9. Is Mr. Murphy still here? Okay, I didn't see you up there. Sean Murphy, Mr. Walsh. Go right ahead.
Item 9, I support.
Thank you. Item 9, Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Herman.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. These are the final maps in the various council districts. What this means is that this is very important because when they want to upzone your neighborhood so they can build huge apartment buildings and all sorts of crap, the first thing they do, they must rezone. That means the maps must be rezoned. By the time you find out about it, it's happened. And then suddenly they build some huge mini mall, which is a contradiction in terms. They build it in your neighborhood, and guess what? Your home and your property loses value. The value is transferred to the contractors, and that's what we have here. We have a final map, parcel map for North Las Palmas Avenue. This is pretty close to where the woman was shot to death in cold blood. And we're talking here about Casa Sofia. and the subdivider. Everything gets subdivided. Your neighborhood gets destroyed. And they're finishing up in Hollywood, destroying Hollywood. Next, they're never going to go west of La Brea because that's where my people live. But they're going to go south and take out, and east, and take out all the poor black and brown people, and you have no one to protect you except this 15 all-white jury.
Mr. Herman?
Another way to disrupt our lives. Another way to disrupt our lives. Herman, the final maps adopted by the city engineer here, as brought out by Hollywood Highland John Walsh, is so precise. How you disrupt our lives. How you disrupt our lives. For rezoning, subdivisions in our communities that are racist, by your racism, that you dictate how we are disrupting the action of the city's engineer reports as detailed on this bullshit list of final maps in parcel map LA number 2070722 located at 1424 North Las Palmas Avenue. And I am on subject, Herman.
Now you're off subject. So anyway, stay on the subject. Okay, now your time is done. Your time is done. Sergeants, help him find his seat. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
We're going to move to item 7.
Mr. President, that's item 7, called special for cards.
Okay, so on that item, I have Mr. In fact, I'll go and Ms. Ramirez, are you here? Please come forward, and then we'll be followed by Mr. Walsh and Mr. Herman.
Again, please, ladies and gentlemen, we need the city to take these properties out of rent escrow and hold the owners to the highest standard of improvement and following and complying with all the inhabitability conditions, as well as the enforcement conditions, as well as the ordinances that they're supposed to abide by. And I don't see the city enforcing anything. And again, you seem to give preferential treatment to these wetbacks and gangbangers who supposedly are poor.
Ms. Ramirez, that's not on the subject.
Well, it is on the subject.
No,
again, we're
not.
talking
Please
about
stay on it.
habitability. Okay, so again,
you're talking about rent escrow, and
rent
you're talking
escrow.
about 1209 South Meadowbrook.
Okay, so again, all these people who are not complying with the law, and many of them Latinos, make sure that they abide by the law. You must teach them the rule of law, or else they wouldn't be in rent escrow. Okay? Make sure that they follow and comply with the rule of law that all of us do, so they won't be in rent escrow. Okay? Do not give them a different standard, like preferential treatment because they're poor. Screw them. Stick it to them. Give them the right choices of teaching them what they must do, and that means that fairness is above all board. Fairness must be done to all. We all have to abide by the rule of law. Okay, City Attorney? That means wetbacks and gangbangers
No,
too.
now you're off the subject again. Thank you.
And
thank you so much.
Take the cockroaches out.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Herman.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. What this is simple. Anytime you see any kind of violation, code violation in your apartment, a broken light socket, whatever it is, you report it to the landlord, and if the landlord has a certain amount of time to fix it, if the landlord doesn't and he has to report the violation report to the city. If he doesn't, then you don't pay your rent to the landlord anymore in the city of Los Angeles. You pay your rent to rent escrow program. And until the landlord repairs your violations, and more and more people are taking advantage of this, until that happens, the landlord doesn't get your money. And I just want you to know, the landlord does the repair the minute, the second he gets on REAP, HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman has 1 minute, I'm told.
Herman, stop disrupting the lives of others and the taxpayers. Until you understand the various properties under the rent escrow program, you as a slumlord would probably reach out and do more to bring more housing that's acceptable under the habitability, Herman. Habitability, Herman, for citations under the ordinance of 173810 and adopt, Herman. Stop disrupting the lives of others and taxpayers. Landlords have a right to do what the hell they want on their property. But when they're under rent control, the city of Los Angeles has the right to protect us assholes and provide us sustainable housing that we can live in without the cucarachas, you pendejos. So stop making our homes unacceptable.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, members, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, that brings us, Mr. Clerk, I believe, to item 1.
Yes, sir.
Oh, and I just heard it's a request to continue item 1L for 2 weeks.
That would be August 28th,
That brings us to the
sir.
28th. Okay. All right, so if I could have Mr. Walsh and Mr. Herman. Oh, who? Mr. Herman's out of time. Mr. Walsh, I think you're still good.
John Walsh at jwalshconfidential.wordpress.com and tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Again, this is very important. It's on every single meeting. This concerns nuisance abatement. This is landlords that are being fined. Now, some of these landlords deserve the fines, and some of these landlords don't. Here, of course, if you live if your property is west of La Brea, you're not going to be harmed because you belong to the right ethnic group, okay? But if you're a black landlord or an Hispanic landlord, you're in big trouble in this city because your people, you're blacks and you're Mexicans, and they don't protect you. This is Collette Avenue, 1500, Hyatt Avenue, 1800, North Norris, 1100, 1700 from West Anita, Ventura Boulevard in the Valley, 4000. It goes on and on and on all the way to letter T. Now, I just want you to understand what's happening here is that whenever anybody shows up, they're told what to say up here. We help them out, and the fines are either reduced or they disappear. Because what we're talking about is there are a number of unjust fines, and we're here to save any property owners and any landlords from unjust fines, and we have 100% record. No one ever has come up here and complained about a fine, and then you postponed it, and they came back a couple of weeks later and complained again. Because every single time we help the landlord, and the landlord is satisfied. And the gentleman that preceded me is the one most responsible.
Okay, Mr. Previn. The one item is 1F that you can speak on because it has not been continued.
I thought it was 1E that I signed
No,
up for.
1E was continued. So please speak on 1F.
Okay, they're both in the CD2
No,
district.
but
right.
still, so
I'm
speak
speaking
on
it now.
1F.
Well, I'm gonna speak on 1F, sir, and 1E is the one that preceded 1F.
Okay, Mr. Previn, hold his time. I'm not going to do this.
You're not gonna
you want
do
to
what,
speak
sir?
on 1E, you cannot. You
No.
want to speak on 1F.
Sir, I don't wanna
1E
do a-
has been continued.
This is second district business. These are two.
Okay.
Runnymede is the address.
No,
that we are.
I'm not going to go back and forth. So
we're not
this
going
is
back and
this is the last time. You want to speak on 1F?
I'm going to, yeah. Sir, it's 1F. It's 12160 West Runnymede Street. It's only a $1,452 lien, sir, against a property. Okay, that's the proposal, and hopefully they will come forward to settle it at some point. And the problem, of course, that I was having had to do with the preceding item, because it's for $4,000 and it involves a group called CVS.
You don't want
okay,
to
well, we have many CVSs in our neighborhood.
His
It's fine.
time is expired. Okay, let's prepare to vote on these items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That brings us where? Is it
Mr.
public comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have an Anne Marie? I think it's an Anchors. Anne Marie, please come forward. And followed by Sean Murphy. Please come forward. And maybe a Lucy or Lucille Caruso, come forward if you're here. Yes, go right ahead.
Good morning. My name is Anne Marie Anchors. I am the co-chair of the Los Angeles chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And Suicide Prevention Month is coming up in September. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the statistics and how suicide impacts our community. Suicide is the number 10 cause of death overall in the United States. It is the number 2 cause of death among college students. My brother was one of them. And more than 40,000 people died by suicide in the U.S. in 2013, which is the last year for which we have statistics. And just to give you a sense of proportion, that's about 3 times the number of people who died by murder. We are losing 22 veterans by suicide every day, and this really is a mental health crisis in this country. Suicide is something that is preventable. It is not a rational choice for problem solving. It is not something we teach our children to do, solve your problems by suicide. So I appreciate your time. And,
Thank you very much.
Have a nice afternoon.
Sean, followed by Ms. Caruso, and then by Julius Margarasi. So go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
You think it's hot now? Get ready for El Nino. I heard on the news yesterday it's supposed to be 10 times worse than 82 and 83 El Ninos. Get the storm drains cleaned up. Laurel Canyon and Osborne gets flooded. Lancashire gets flooded. Just clean up the storm drains.
Okay, Julius. State your name for the record.
Julius E. Mojiroshi.
Go right ahead, sir.
How the corporations and their puppets, Mayor Garcetti, the Beast Obama, and the City Council. The Beast Obama makes the children go hungry. He makes them die for no reason. The Housing Authority is trying to murder me with bugs. They won't do anything about them. How is it that scumbag landlords can refuse to take a voucher from a disabled veteran? How is it that scumbag landlords can charge an application fee? Does the world really need classes at the housing department teaching landlords how to rip off their tenants more? The problem is not alcohol. The problem is the corrupt City Hall, the corrupt U.S. government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is it Jennifer Deans, maybe, or Danes? Jennifer? Marisa Mendoza? Again, I'm looking for Miss Caruso. Dr. Rosemary White? Please identify yourself.
Hi there. My name is Jennifer Dinas. I am an Elysian Valley stakeholder, and I'm here to tell you today about a 1.3-acre parcel that is currently zoned open space that's currently owned by Mortla Kretz, and that parcel is set to be converted to commercial manufacturing, which is being done without notification and without a hearing, which is in contradiction to City Charter Section 5555. And I wanted to let you know that there has been absolutely no notification of area neighbors, and the Elysian Valley, well, nearly all of the studies that have gone on for the Elysian Valley with regard to the river have promoted the keeping of green space and open space, and this in particular would convert that green space, which is 1.3 acres of prime riverfront real estate, into commercial.
Thank you. So do I have Marisa Mendoza, Ms. Caruso, Dr. Are you okay? Dr. Rosemary White? Go ahead.
Good afternoon to all. Sir, I came here.
And your name?
Oh, my name is Marisa Mendoza.
Gotcha.
And I came here today to tell you a little bit about my story. And also I came because I support home sharing. In 2013, I have fell into a hardship. I own a daycare, and my daycare was not doing enough to make my ends meet. I have a hard time to pay the payments on my house. So I have a dear friend that talk about Airbnb. And immediately I took a room, I cleaned it up, and I put it for the rent. I just wanted to tell you, since that I have Airbnb, it has helped me tremendously. It saved my home because I was about to lose it. But of all, I just would like to know if you can make it a fair law for Airbnb.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, Lucille or Lucy Caruso, Dr. Rose Marie White, Brian Barajas, Eric Previn. Brian, come on. And Eric Previn, followed by John Walsh.
All right. On the LaRouche PAC site, there's a title which is entitled, "We Have to Fight." I think the emphasis here is from a standpoint, how do you kill a society? You have new generations coming up, but they don't know a damn thing. You have an older generation dying off, and obviously they're dying. In this process, there are some who lack the necessity to actually speak up. And whenever that happens, you get a process which Shakespeare knew about. A society dies, and at this level, we're dealing with a president who will extinct the human race. And now that's a problem because Kennedy faced this existential threat. But we don't have a president, nor do we have a society that actually knows what the hell to do. So join LaRouche PAC.
Mr. Previn.
Thank you, Council President Weston. It is Eric Previn, a resident from CD2, who has been effectively shut down on the CD2 lien item 1E, which is unfortunate because CVS is a longtime provider in our community. We have a dizzying number of CVSs in one simple block, so I think it's appropriate that they pay their lien quickly or in some manner. Sir, I know that you're in close contact with that group on a regular basis. Mr. Cedillo, who is not here today, it is worrisome because he is the guy who is really helping in a lot of ways, but the 7-Eleven project at item number 3, which you continued, and by the way, kudos to Justin and the team for continuing every single item I pulled, sir. This is really becoming a kind of a trademark trademark. Well done. But I will say this, sir. When you are ready, I am prepared to link closely with you to provide Council District Rule number 93 guidance. It is okay to increase the size of the public. Then we can see the nice faces we're making, the happy smiles, and all the nice stuff we're trying to do for you. Sir, one more time, you look, as usual, sir, fantastic. I mean, this is really, it's becoming a thing. You're like the most attractive guy in the room. Thank you.
All right, that's scary. Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you. I just want to correct an inaccurate implication that was made by a previous speaker in relation to a comment about Elysian Valley. There was a parcel that was identified and transmitted, but not by my office, to the Planning Commission that I have flagged and actually put a stop to. And it is so my office can investigate it more closely. I explained this at a public meeting just the other night in great detail. So I would implore all of my constituents, or even if you're not a constituent of mine, like the speaker who has not just spoke, to call my office for clarification on these types of matters, because we don't want to get the wrong ideas to spread out there erroneously. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I didn't see your name earlier. Okay, if we could have Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Herman, followed by Ms. Ramirez. Yes,
well,
sir.
You can rebut me when I say that the mayor's lover, Glenn Dake, is on the MWD board. You can, and we didn't hear any at the closed session on DWP. We didn't hear what the report was. Give us the report. But the most important thing is what happened yesterday at 1:15. At 1:15, the fire alarms went off in this building. It was chaos. Mr. Harris Dawson almost knocked me over. He was like a bat out of hell getting out of this building. I never saw anyone. Feet, do your stuff. I'm telling you right now. Correct me, Mr. Krikorian was outside. I have photos of him. This whole building is a fire trap. They're trying to keep it quiet. People could have been killed in this building. What happened? You were outside. I have photos in the LA Times, and no one will cover this story. So now tell me that I'm a liar, you pieces of fucking shit. Scumbags.
Okay. Before you come up, Mr. Herman, don't come up just yet. If I could get Dr. White. I'm sorry, but I called. Just come on up. Dr. Rosemary White. Yes.
I am here on a totally different...
Hold on. Yes.
To listen to the public comment, and
okay, so let's have no
Mr. Walsh is yelling out from...
No disruption.
The meeting is disrupting the meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
All right. I'm here on a totally different bit of circumstances. This is today's paper. The mountain lion was killed this morning. That has been in the future for everybody for years. And we have asked and asked for some type of overpass to this section of the road for years, and it has not happened. I am here to ask every single person in this room, listen to me, we're losing our wildlife, and no one is paying attention. And then all of a sudden it comes out on the front page of the LA Times. Come on, you guys. I'm going to every single one of you, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to ask, please, get behind me. I'm Sierra Club. I was head of Sierra Club. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you.
Thank you. Mr. Herman, Ms. Ramirez, and Mr. Marine.
It's really sad that during this drunk stupor of Mitch Englander running for county supervisor, items 2 and 3 were deferred because we didn't want to talk about the permits for convenience of alcoholism in Los Angeles. As you all know that if it wasn't for county supervisor Miss Solis, our sheriffs wouldn't have the best place to sit at a 7-Eleven and have a fucking drink. We need to stop permitting alcoholism. You're creating diseases to our community. But yet, what's the knucklehead? No, he's not a knucklehead. He's actually smart. Mike Fuhrer stepped in and said, we're going to stop the Koreans from permitting alcoholisms after hours. The same should go to every business, every fucking restaurant, and everywhere that this city put permits for alcohol consumption.
Stop beating on the podium.
I'm sorry, Herb Wesson.
Thank you. Your time is expired. Your time is expired. Okay, so Ms. Ramirez. And would you please turn the light out? It's disruptive to some of the members looking out into the audience. Yes, Ms. Ramirez.
Thank you. We have a toxic and dangerous, jealous, nosy, racist, hate-mongering wetbacks and homicidal Chango Latino gangbanging epidemic. I was at the Grand Park yesterday, August 13, 2015, and I was appalled because both the city and county of Los Angeles, plus all movie studios, contracted only wetbacks and Latino Chango gangbangers to set up the movie event called License to Operate. They used 1, rental connections, party equipment, and 2, Del Rey party rentals. Sadly, no American unemployed baby boomers, nor American senior citizens, nor United States military veterans were employed. And to add insult to injury, actress Sharon Stone interjected that America was somehow to be blamed for their malevolent choices of heinous violent lifestyle. Council member Mr. B. Buscaino, the movie industry wants a special law enforcement protection, yet they keep hiring these undesirable Chango reptilian thieves. So stop hiring them and deport the filthy pigs.
Thank you very much. Mr. Marine. Henry Marine.
Yes, as you know, Mayor Bradley gave craftsmen in the city of California, in the city of Los Angeles, equal opportunity to government employment through pay deductions that the city, the representatives of our equal opportunity public employer agreed to shelter from pay of Hackman Kohler craftsmen and agreed to loan to unions and to use in city bank accounts subject to future payment to laces or calipers. Consequently, we have a lot of people who are called classic employees, members of the pension benefit plans, because you failed to account for it yet. And under the M&M Bacon Act, Myers and Millers, I got the right to represent we the people of all colors, with or without nuts. So here we is. Get back to him in time.
Thank you, Mr. Marine. That concludes general public comment. Mr. Clerk, what's before this body?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred. Announcements, members. Mr. Englander.
Yes, thank you. Are there other announcements first? I don't mind going.
Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, colleagues.
The good Mitch.
That's right. I agree with that. No.
Of the East.
So this weekend is the annual Echo Park Rising, which begins this afternoon at 3:30, and this afternoon and tonight through Saturday and through Sunday late afternoon in Echo Park. It is a weekend of music, most of it free, open to the public, and we expect 10,000 attendees. It's really great local homegrown musicians, and it's a wonderful public music festival that I encourage everyone to enjoy. There is a kickoff this afternoon at Liberty Street, right behind Tex Restaurant, and just off of Alvarado in Echo Park, which begins at 3:30. And I invite everyone to attend and enjoy the wonderful music.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. And Mr. Englander is a good Mitch himself as well.
Council members, this is a little out of school. And we typically do not do this for public announcements from the council members, but I'm going to anyway, and following the rules. And I'm going to read you a letter. I'm actually going to read you the facts first, and then I'm going to read you a letter from somebody addressed to our governor. The murder of LAPD Detective Williams was carefully planned in several days and committed in retaliation against an officer who was merely performing his duties as assigned, the investigation of a robbery of a movie theater manager in an act to make a bank deposit at a night drop. Detective Williams was assassinated in front of his 6-year-old son, Ryan. Detective Williams was off duty at the time of the murder, picking up his son from the church school that he attended. Ryan saw his father gunned down in a hail of bullets from a fully automatic MAC-10 assault rifle. It's astonishing that neither Ryan, who was standing less than 6 feet from his dad, nor his other children inside the school were struck by the full slide of bullets that penetrated classroom walls. Voltaire Williams himself sat in wait to kill Detective Williams the week prior to the actual murder. Voltaire, in his 2011 parole board hearing, which, by the way, this body unanimously passed a motion, a resolution, urging the parole board to deny the parole, as many of us also wrote letters, so we are on record as a city asking the state of California and the parole board and the governor to deny this parole. In 2011, the parole board hearing admitted that he accepted the contract to kill the LAPD detective, Detective Williams, for $2,000 and sat across the street from the school. He was thwarted from the killing only because Detective Williams arrived to pick up his son from a different direction than his normal route. That is when he decided against committing the murder and retained someone else instead to commit the murder of Detective Williams. It should be noted that in the 30 years since his arrest, Voltaire Williams has never expressed even a hint of remorse. While the state has the requirement to reduce the population of the California prison system under the federal mandate, cannot possibly believe that in good conscience the releasing of Voltaire Williams is suitable to meet those goals. I'd like to read you a letter quickly as well from his wife. Dear Honorable Governor Brown, this letter is being sent to you with the immense grief and sadness. I learned on August 4th that Voltaire Williams was granted parole pending a review period of 120 days or less. Governor Brown, I pray that you and your staff take the time to review all of the facts of the case. Voltaire Williams may not have directly murdered my husband, LAPD Detective Thomas C. Williams, but he was one of Daniel Jenkins' accomplices in the murder plot. The record shows that Voltaire Williams, at the behest of Jenkins, recruited a potential assassin who backed out of the plot when he saw my husband Tom arrive at the planned location of the hit, and the suspect that he intended victim was a police officer and not a security guard, as he had been informed. Voltaire knew the details of the plot and the plan to murder the Los Angeles police officer. As you consider the pending parole, you should also know that the murder plot against me and my children was discovered during the investigation of the murder case. It was disclosed by another of Jenkins' henchmen that while looking for Tom at or near the school, that he had gone by our home. A call was made to report that Tom was not around. We later learned that Voltaire told Jenkins, the family is here. Do you want me to take them out? The plan was obviously not carried out. Most importantly, it is a fact that Voltaire Williams himself, only a few days before the murder, was staked out in front of the school in anticipation of Tom's arrival to pick up Ryan. Tom did not show as expected. We later learned that Voltaire was there to kill Tom and in possession of a gun given to him by Daniel Jenkins. Throughout the past parole hearings, these facts were never discussed nor considered. Upon hearing the news of Voltaire Williams' pending release, my adult children and I were devastated, and I hope that you'll use this information to deny his parole. You should also know that the decision to grant Voltaire's parole pending was decided by only 2 parole board members, not the usual numbers. If you do not personally intervene and do the right thing and reserve the decision of 2 people, I'd like to demand that the full parole board review the 2 members' decisions and that all the facts of this case be introduced into the record. I implore you, Governor Brown, to reverse this idiotic decision made by 2 people who did not weigh all the facts or take into account the real danger Voltaire possesses for society. As the record will show, after Tom's murder, my children and me were under protection due to known credible threats. Voltaire is a follower, and if released, would resort to his old ways and associates. He is not remorseful nor rehabilitatable and has been counseled on how to play the system in prison. If Voltaire Williams is released, I strongly fear that my children, my grandchildren, and I will be in real danger. That is the reason I moved out of California. That was my home state where Tom and I raised our children, and Tom gave his life protecting others as an LAPD detective. I am more concerned about my safety and welfare. Please, Governor Brown, do not allow the parole board to render this decision. Please give me and my family peace of mind. We always believed the judicial system as well as Tom did. He was a wonderful father, husband, and a friend to many. Tom's memory and ultimate sacrifice should not be diminished due to prison overcrowding or economic reasons. Tom was proud to be an LAPD detective and only wanted to keep his community and his city and his family safe. He's the son of an Army career officer and was offered an appointment to West Point. Tom turned it down, saying, "My future is being a police officer, and the only department I want to join is the Los Angeles Police Department, no other." My children will be sending you their letters stating their thoughts. While I know you have heard from many in law enforcement begging and pleading with you to reverse this illogical decision of two members of the parole board, please read their letters carefully and consider the emotional pain our family has suffered for over 30 years from a person who shows no remorse and is still a danger to the residents of California. Sincerely, Norma Williams, wife of LAPD Detective Thomas C. Williams. Council members, Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to read that into the record, and once again standing by our unanimous support and resolution to deny this parole. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Englander. Could we now rise for adjourning motions? I'm going to look to my Mr. O'Farrell.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. This past July 4th in the community of Echo Park, an outstanding young man's life came to a tragic end. Mr. Sammy Ewing, or as others may have known him, Ewing, Winston, the Mick, Gloom, All Bets Off, Spider Ghost, or Grace Alley. Born April 12, 1975, and raised in the Bay Area, Sammy became an active part of the hardcore music scene. As Sammy the Mick Winston sung in bands, started fanzines, put on shows, and followed the do-it-yourself ethic, his inherent demeanor of pushing the norm inspired experiences that remain lifelong stories for his wide circle of friends. It's said that if you met Sammy, you had a story. Sammy moved to Los Angeles about 2 years ago and almost immediately found work at the Echo and the Regent. Here, he felt he had found a home. He embraced the Echo Park neighborhood, feeling that he had found a caring, supportive community. A sincere fan, supporter of the local music and arts scene, Winston, a prolific writer, scribbler, observer, poet with a voice descriptive and authentic, was published in Vice, AMP, and other varied publications. When a house fire broke out early morning, July 4th, Sammy went throughout the house to wake his roommates. When he realized that one was still missing, he went back in to make sure that he got out. His brave actions saved his friends, but Sammy sacrificed his life in the process and died a hero. Sammy gave his life to save the lives of B.G. Brixton, Rex Brixton, Justin Hall, and Laura Allard. Sammy was a beautiful soul, a creative spark that spoke his truth and helped others find theirs. Sammy will be missed by friends from California to New York, but especially by those in his new home of Echo Park who welcomed him with so much love and support. This afternoon, as we kick off the Echo Park Rising Festival that I mentioned earlier, we will be paying tribute to the life of Sammy as we kick off the festival, and everyone is welcome to join in the celebration of his life at 3:30 today.
Very appropriate. Still looking on my right side. I don't see any more adjournings to my right. I'm going to my left. I do not see any to my left. Members, have a good weekend. This meeting is adjourned.